All right, hi. Welcome to the Deck Network. I'm your host, Mike Danzilio, and as seems customary on our show, we have Steve from Easy Decks.
How are you guys?
Yeah. Steve's a camera hound, so he likes. So we have fun doing these videos. We get some laughs. We drive around, we get some laughs sometimes, waiting in traffic. Yeah. Typical Long Island traffic. So this deck is a beautiful deck in Dix Hills, New York. So let's get right in on it, because we're not going to have a lot of time. These videos take up a little bit of time. Dex.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Okay, Steve's working on this very large deck that isn't that old. But no. There was questionable carpentry skills used in it. First of all, it looks as though they used the wrong material. I mean, this is a product that will remain nameless. But if we look at down here, the stuff seemed as though it contracted quite a bit. It puffed up on this area right here. It looks like it's broken through right in here. And anything to add about this decking, Steve?
Well, the deck doesn't seem to be too old. It's probably about 7 to 10 years old. Correctly.
All right, we have a perfect example of what not to do with railings here. You'll see designs of railings on the outside of the deck, but you don't want to do it like that. You can make it strong, but I'm sure that when this deck was built, these rails were somewhat strong, but they don't look very strong right now. And you can just wiggle these off, and that's less than 300 pounds that I just put into that. So yeah.
And he's been going to the gym.
Yeah, we always know that when decks fail, people get hurt. Right. But when guardrails fail, people get killed. Yeah. So that's the, we really have to always be very careful about the way that we put railings together.
Believe it or not, the rails are probably the most accident caused in decks is failing of rails, because people just don't really build them right, and they skimp on the rails, and that's what happens. It just falls apart.
These had notched 4x4s, and if you have notched a 4x4 and it has a cut in it, it's less strong than a 2x4. Okay. All right, this deck is totally going to be taken down and start over. I don't think you can save the frame on this one.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's definitely past its limited lifetime, and it just wasn't built properly to begin with. Right. So what we'll do is we'll come back in a couple of days when the frame is done, and then we'll come back when it's finished. And Steve's going to show us the proper way to build a deck.
Safe way.
The safe way.
The safe way.
That's okay. We're back at Easy Decks. Deck. Steve, how you doing today?
All right, Mike. How's it going?
How's that leg going?
All right, hanging in there.
Yeah. All right. So we're at the second time we've been here. The frame is complete. So Steve, why don't you show us what about this frame?
Oh, this frame, again, it's a freestanding deck. Like I said, I usually like to build them freestanding. So we didn't attach it to the house. So we put in our footings as we always do, 3 feet deep, 12 inches round. And then we have our girder, which also works as our, I guess you would say, ledger board as well, where our joist connects to our main girder, and then from there we're able to. Okay,
what's different about this deck is that we're putting the decking perpendicular to the house. So of course it requires a slightly different framing pattern. And it works well, especially when you're going over 20 feet in length and you don't want to use any feature boards, and you want all your decking to go without any breaks in it at all. But it requires extra footings, and of course Steve isn't afraid to put extra footings in, because he of course likes a super strong deck. And you can see that we're going down the line here. He's going to have a picture frame going across. You're going to put a single or a double on that?
Double on there.
A double picture frame, because that's going to look nice with the railings. He's setting it up here for stairs, and of course he'll have his stringer straps. The posts are nice and sturdy. What deck? Tell us about the decking that the customer chose on this deck.
The decking is from Timbertech. It's their XLM series. It's color Walnut Grove. It's a beautiful deck board. It looks as almost like a stained teak. I'm sorry, Ipe deck. Ipe is an ironwood. You're gonna be paying probably about 25–30% more for Ipe, and then you're gonna have to worry about staining it every year if you want to keep this color. With this product, this is gonna look great for years to come.
Yeah, real pretty decking. I have this at one of the decks at my showroom. Actually, it's right outside the Deck Network studio, and it just looks great. We get a lot of great feedback from it. Higher decks, but we always try to make them strong because
regardless,
wood is going. It may be strong enough when it's new, but with the temperatures and shrinkage, drying out of the wood over time, the product does become weaker. So overbuilding it to begin with is not a bad thing to do.
Never is.
Okay. All right, we're going to look at the gun that shoots these conceal lock clips from, well, they're made by Tiger Claw for Timbertech, and they work really nice, but you have to be careful and do it correctly. Sometimes if you don't push it underneath, if you try to go too fast with it, these deck boards tend to squeak. So as long as you get it in correctly, it's going to work. So Robin, why don't you show us how this works and how fast these actually go in. You got the clip? Yeah, you just
put it in easily.
You really got to be careful on how you put this underneath, but I'm sure he does so much of it that he can fly with it. You put it in, clip it under, push it down. So the bottom edge of the gun is on the frame.
And then all you have to do is like push it and shoot it.
Okay, and that's all it takes. So they work pretty well once you get good at it. As you can see.
You can see you go pretty quick with that.
And it kicks it in a little bit also. And as usual, you always want to, every 5 or 10 feet, or you want to put a chalk line down or come down and give it a nice sight line to make sure that your deck boards are straight. All right. Okay, hi, we're at a deck by Steve from Easy Decks, and this is a beautiful deck here in Walnut Grove with the White Raidiance Rail, and some of the treatments on this deck are absolutely perfect. Steve, why don't you take the microphone and show some of the little things that we have here.
Sure. First off, we have our staircase entering the deck. It's a flared out staircase. What we did, we picture framed it to give it a nice look. Again, it's a nice deck, so you want your stairs to look as good as your deck does. So we picture framed the deck. We have the nice mitered corners going up to a decking that's running vertical to the house. Hey boy. And he was my helper throughout the day. And what we have is a double picture frame border with the decking running vertical to the house. And what that does is that allows us, as we're walking to the staircase, it kind of helps us define that the steps are here. So it's a safety feature as well as a nice look. Then we have our white Raidiance rails with our white trim. The trim is from Trex, also a well-known company. So again, it's just a beautiful look, and it ties in well with the house.
And so a few things that I've noticed on it. If we want to look at the way that these stairs are picture framed, and we have little returns going around here. You don't see this all the time. This is just extra. This is time consuming to do this, to get it this precise. And if you could come up here and look down this line right here, this is a perfect cut. I think Steve should change the name of his company to High Precision Deck Builders, because you do not see this kind of detail usually. And I look at lots of decks all the time, and this one is just fantastic. All right, let's talk to the homeowner. Dix Hills, New York. Dave, how are you?
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Yeah, great. I've been to the house a number of times because I know Steve real well, and I come down and look at these decks all the time. But tell me a little bit about the process that it took for you to get to have Steve from Easy Decks do your deck.
Sure. Well, called actually probably close to a dozen contractors to come in, and some of them had, you know, less expensive prices, some had decent ideas, but when Stephen actually came, his ideas far surpassed anybody else that came in. He was fairly priced, called a number of references. Every single one of them had excellent things to say about his work, his craftsmanship, the time on time always. His guys worked at my house day and night until the job was done. Clean, you know, always taking safety into account, and he absolutely positively delivered on every single iota of promises that he made for me. And I have a great deck. I mean, I had a deck here beforehand that was just, every time I looked outside, it was such an eyesore. And you know, I'm just happy to go out on my deck. I tell my kids, take your shoes off when you're going on the deck now, because it's that beautiful, and we're happy that it's right before the summer. So.
All right, well, thanks, Dave. It looks as though Steve was able to exceed your expectations for the deck to be done.
Without a doubt.
Yes,
absolutely.
and usually a lot of times we hear nightmare stories about contractors or whatever and the way it happens, but this deck, it just came out great, and it's just great to see someone so happy. The kids are happy, even the dog's happy. So all right, well, thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Right,
thanks.
All right, well, that deck came out great, and Dave, the homeowner, he was here at my office on a Sunday, just raving about Steve to anybody who would come around and want to talk to him. So I guess that's about the best advertising you can get, is a happy customer.
Happy customer.
So you certainly have quite a bit of those. That deck is just great because of the little details on it.
Right.
And it seems as though you and Dave got along well, because he's a detail-oriented person himself. You look at his house, his yard, everything is all in its little proper place. And when it comes to hiring a contractor, some guys are going to cost less, some guys will cost more, but Steve's going to tell you what he's going to do. And if you are a details-oriented person, then this is the gentleman that you want to have build your deck, because he looks at the details, and we like to say it's all in the details. And for some people like myself, who's very detail-oriented, Steve did a great job. Anything to add on that deck?
Yeah, same thing. It's, you know, we were glad to work on this project. Dave actually contacted us about 2 years ago, and it just came across that he called us again one more time to come down and take a look at his deck, and luckily he chose us, and he was very happy with our work.
Okay, well, that's it for today's episode of the Deck Network. As usual, you can find us on decknetwork.com, but we'll have plenty more. We're in the height of the deck season right now, so we're going around doing as many videos as I can in the time that I have, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So
very good. Happy decking.
Bye now.